so let's have a listen to what he's saying.
Who has to deal with the threats from ISIL, spreading a new form of fascism and bringing its terror to the shores of the Mediterranean. In Eastern Europe, Russia is subverting democracy, seeking to change international borders by force. And in Africa, Boko Haram is causing chaos in northern Nigeria and along its border. As Defence Secretary, I work closely with David Cameron and our armed forces as we review intelligence and make decisions every day to help keep Britain safe. In the face of multiple threats to Britain and British interests, David Cameron has shown strong leadership and always puts defence first. And that matters because one of the biggest questions at this election and for the new Parliament is whether we should renew our nuclear deterrent. No issue is more important for a government: the security of our nation, our freedom and our way of life. For 45 years now, Britain has kept a ballistic missile submarine at sea, providing the ultimate guarantee of security against nuclear attack or nuclear blackmail 24/7, 365 days a year. Our nuclear submarines protect all of the United Kingdom, including Scotland. Last year I saw for myself that deterrent in Faslane, where the crews of Vanguard, Vengeance, Victorious and Vigilant are based. Not only is Faslane the biggest employer in Scotland, Faslane is Britain's peace camp. And today, in a world where there are approximately 17,000 nuclear weapons, we cannot gamble with the security that Faslane and our deterrent provide. We know that there are substantial nuclear arsenals and the number of nuclear states has increased. Russia is modernising its nuclear forces and actively commissioning a new class of 8 ballistic missile submarines. North Korea has conducted 3 nuclear tests and other ballistic missile tests in defiance of the international community. Other, often very unstable states want nuclear weapons and seek the technology to develop them. After 35 years of continuous patrolling, our current 4 Vanguard-class ballistic missile submarines will come out of service in the next decade. In an increasingly dangerous world in which we cannot know now what nuclear threats may emerge in the 2030s, the 2040s and the 2050s, the only responsible choice is to recommit to our continuous at-sea deterrent now, so that we can cope with any direct nuclear threat to the United Kingdom or to our NATO allies. For those who argue that no threats will emerge, I ask, how can you be certain when the cancer of Islamic extremism, the Arab Spring, and aggressive Russia, these things were not foreseen just a few years ago? No one can predict accurately what unconventional threats the next 45 years may bring. So the question is, do we renew our nuclear submarines, or do we accept the loss of our ultimate insurance policy? That is a question the next Prime Minister must answer. And that Prime Minister will be one of 2 people, David Cameron or Ed Miliband. Imagine Ed Miliband limping into office, aided by the crutch of the SNP. On Tuesday night, Nicola Sturgeon was explicit. In a statement that was as arrogant as it was terrifying, she said she was, and I quote, offering to make Ed Miliband Prime Minister. And she has made crystal clear the price she would demand: more spending, more debt, unlimited welfare, and scrapping our nuclear deterrent. Last night she said, and I quote, "You'd better believe Trident is a red line," unquote. So if Miliband wants the keys to number 10, he must abandon any plans to renew our Vanguard ballistic missile submarines. This naive worldview of the SNP would sacrifice the long-term security of the United Kingdom and play into the hands of our enemies. That policy is a threat to us all, the people of England, of Wales, of Northern Ireland, and of Scotland. When Britain could face nuclear blackmail by rogue states, this self-indulgent approach is more suited to the politics of student protest than to a party of government. It is a sign of Ed Miliband's weakness that he has failed to explicitly rule out any deal. I wrote to him in March, challenging him to give an assurance that he would not risk Britain's nuclear deterrent. No answer. In the absence of that assurance, voters can only conclude that he would be prepared to barter the future of Britain's national security for power. That would shatter the 60-year consensus that has existed amongst governments of all colours in favour of an operationally independent nuclear deterrent. Britain doesn't pay ransoms, and a Conservative government would never bow to demands from Scottish separatists. More than that, we have long believed that our deterrent underpins the peace on which our economic prosperity depends. That is why I today announce that the Conservative manifesto will guarantee that we will build a new fleet of 4 successor ballistic missile submarines, replacing the 4 Vanguard boats. We will retain the Trident continuous at-sea nuclear deterrent to provide the ultimate guarantee of our safety. This is the only sensible policy to pursue. There is simply no alternative to continuous patrols that provides the same level of protection and deterrence. We know that because successive governments have looked at the options. 2 years ago, the official government review concluded that there is no alternative as capable or as cost-effective as a submarine-based deterrent. While some parties have proposed 3, or even absurdly, in the case of the Liberal Democrats, 2 boats, all these studies have shown that 4 submarines are required to maintain this continuous posture. We agree, and we are committed to a deterrent operating around the clock, not one that takes the weekend off. Given the £38 billion black hole in the defence budget that we inherited from Labour,
let's leave Michael Fallon.